quick overview about Business Clinic. This is a boutique consultancy which was founded in May 2020. We have a team of about 70 expert advisors. We help clients overcome business challenges. The three people who run this that's me on the left, next is Anush, and to the right is Krishnan. Three of us have been running this. Broadly, what we offer is under PACE, P-A-C-E. One is the plan. P stands for plan. It's a detailed business plan. We help companies draft business plans, and coaching for business success. Align is leadership coaching. What's really catching on now is the team coaching, which it's not that leadership coaching one-on-one is not there. It is there, but I think team coaching is taking a big jump now. And in terms of Connect, what we are doing now is something called Expert Insights. We also do Expert Insights for company-specific demands and requests. We do in-company workshops on cutting-edge topics, open certification program. Actually, we are going to do one in June. It's going to be tools and techniques to increase profit. I think somewhere around 19th, 20th of June, we're going to do that from a very renowned advisor who has spent his life helping people increase profits. I'm sure it's going to be interesting. And in Execute, we do sharp consulting, strategy consulting, sometimes short-term and sometimes long-term. Okay. Leadership coaching, as I think some of you would be aware, it's a one-on-one. It goes on for 6 online sessions of 2 hours each, spread over 6 months. Team coaching again goes on for 6, but it is done for a group of people. For example, you have a team, and the sales team can be put together. Normally, what we do is every person will have 3 goals. One goal will be for a business-ended goal, and the next 2 goals will be behavioral goals. So, and at the end of it, each one shares amongst themselves what are the things they have to improve on. It's a very interesting concept. This is catching on a lot now. Consultation on demand, we do Express Insight with over 50. And what we do is, we first get to know what the problem is or what the challenge is. We understand it and identify the appropriate expert who can help you. We schedule online sessions with an expert. You get guidance in future. And this is exclusive for the company. It's not an open session like this. So it's a one-on-one, and these sessions vary from one Zoom session for about 2 hours, going on to sometimes 3 sessions, or sometimes even for 6 months. So it depends upon the magnitude of the problem. Okay, these are some of the in-company programs we run, and these are very interesting programs where our expert advisors have been with us for all these programs. Growth strategy, R&D, innovation, we have business analytics, B2B marketing, succession planning. These are all, again, we do it for the company. It's customized, and we spend a lot of time with the advisor and the client in preparing this. Now coming to today, this session is a very interesting session. Expert Insights by Ravi Ramchandran. Ravi is a good friend, ex-Nestle, director of Nestle. He is going to be conversing with Binu, who is Vice President, Sales and Distribution of Cavinkare, on the subject of trends in sales and marketing. So it's not Ravi going to do a presentation or something. The conversation is going to be interesting. And I think, at the end of, say, time is now 6:10, maybe up to, we can give 40-50 minutes time for them to complete the conversation. After that, we can take questions. A quick intro about Ravi. Accomplished sales leader with 38 years of leadership, Nestle mostly. Excellent track record of delivering revenue and profit. Has been an eminent member of the management committee of Nestle over 10 years. He has been an integral part of diversity and inclusion. He is now an independent director at the Muthoot Fincorp. Is VP Sales and Marketing, Sales and Distribution. He is now in Cavinkare. Started his career with Hindustan Lever, handling detergents business. Worked in various markets. He was a part of the modern trade business in HUL Chennai. Moved to SIFI handling. Moved to Vodafone in 2006. So he's got a wide array of experience, and they are going to converse on a very interesting topic, which is trends in sales and marketing. I hope this introduction is good enough so I can switch off and leave it to the experts to talk. It's okay, Ravi and Binu?
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks a lot, Raj, for a very profound introduction. Most of it not deserved, but I guess we've been around for some time. But it's also a pleasure to talk to a practicing manager today and understand the new challenges. These business challenges are there almost every month. So one cannot imagine that we know everything. Within 3 months, the whole environment and ecosystem changes. So it's a pleasure to connect with Binu today.
Same here, Ravi. So thanks and thanks for inviting me in connecting with all you people. FMCG being an industry with ups and downs, there's always been changes around, and it's something which continues to change day in and day out. Some of the things which comes in our mind, I just thought I'll just check with you. See, Nestle being a company which, from whatever I know, they've been growing in double digit consistently, and very strong double digit growth. And there are certain challenges, I'm sure, in FMCG which they've overcome far better than many other companies, and which is why they're growing so well. Something comes to my mind about these channels, and there's been a question around when people ask how are the channels going to be changing the scenario of FMCG? How does omni-channel, tilt the way FMCG business works? We have heard about in our golden days about urban, rural, modern trade, general trade. I'm saying it's evolving. So how do you see this omni-channel influencing this thing, Ravi? What's your thoughts on those things?
So it's a very interesting way to start this conversation, simply because it just tells you a bit about the complexity of India. There's Absolutely. A large geography. It can cut it by geography. It can cut it by channel, and there are many sub-channels as well. Absolutely. Earlier, when we started our career, there was a kirana merchant. We used to have a large kirana and a small kirana, and there used to be a pawn shop, which we always found it difficult to cover.
Correct.
But subsequently, over years, the large ecosystem that we have, there are 11 million FMCG outlets in India. These 11 million outlets, what Nielsen tells us, are spread across this large geography of 8,000 urban towns and 600,000 villages. That being what it is, just reaching them is the challenge that any company has got. With a movement of time and technology, importantly, you find that we have aggregated stores like supermarkets available. 25 years back, supermarkets came. That time, everybody said that supermarkets will just take over the business. It's not happening. Best of companies have got 10% contribution business coming from supermarkets. And then more recently, there's been this e-commerce, which has been very big. And e-commerce has got the benefit of COVID, so it kind of accelerated quite phenomenally during that period. And today we have a situation where any product that we have, we can sell it in multiple channels, which is the omni-channel play that we see in front of us. Now, this, I believe, will continue. But the predominant channel in this country will continue to be the traditional trade, simply because we have to reach over 1.4 billion, as the latest census says, consumers. And the supermarkets are a phenomenon of the urban centers, and e-commerce continues to be very urban even now. And e-commerce, as we will talk a little more about e-commerce as we go on, is propped up by many factors like subsidies. There are logistics costs which are being absorbed by somebody, and the end consumer is getting it at a same price or even a discounted price, as somebody said. So I believe the omni-channel play will continue, and every company has to be prepared to intervene in every channel if it has to see. It is not either or, it is and. That's what I believe will be
Absolutely.
the way forward.
I agree. I think rightly said, because, if you look at companies like, DMart, if you look at Jio, all of those companies have realized that brick and mortar structure alone will not work. That's what they got into e-commerce. Now, that also helps them to have far more higher assortments. It gives them flexibility to serve the consumer. So like you rightly pointed out, it's going to be here to stay, and people will adopt a dual sort of approach where large companies will have both of these things. Both of these things running parallel.
It's not only the e-commerce doesn't mean Amazon or Big Basket.
Absolutely.
Even the DMart has got something called click and mortar.
Absolutely, that's the point I'm saying.
So everybody is.
So, and Correct. See, today with that also helps them to serve from the local shop. If you go and ask a geo of this one, you get it from the nearby Reliance store. So, their assortment increases, and that really helps them. So, yeah, I think one of the question also came, I think one of the audience did ask as to what is the future of this thing. I think the answer what Raj gave is true. And I'm saying the large pyramid with 6 lakh villages in India and it is still being urbanized. The play still continues to be the grocer channel and the wholesale channel for some more time. Having said that, the top pyramid is going to be attacked by the omni channel, and that will continue. And companies need to attack that in the right manner for the current thing. Yeah. So when you talk about this, Raj, I think one thing which comes to our mind, I think if you read the newspapers today, starting with levers, I 2 decades back, I was in levers, and at that point of time, we used to have something called IDC coverage, indirect coverage. And that used to be, the rural coverage where you do van sales and stuff. And that used to be the growth engine. To my surprise, after 2.5 decades or more, even today we talk about it, right? When I was a sales officer today and when I'm heading a sales, things have not changed. One thing which has not changed is how do you tap more rural, right? And I think that's a very interesting question to ask, saying, to what extent should somebody get into rural? I'm saying Nestle also talks about rural. Hindustan Lever, after so long, still comes and says, I'm going to expand rural. And a lot of companies, every company who is doing. So what extent should a company, and that's one question I'm sure many mid-sized companies ask, what extent should I, dip into rural? How high is high?
100% you have to be in rural. 70% of the country's population is in rural. 30% is urban. You will have to get there. But the fact remains that most process brands and more mega brands are very urban centric. As you go down the population strata and the income strata, you will lead to
I think
rural.
we missed, yeah.
And rural doesn't necessarily mean poor. Huh? It's not. It's just that
Absolutely.
they are not exposed to brands. And the food business where I come from, method of preparation, they don't know. Everybody says that Maggi noodle is a mega brand. I gone to villages where they say, how do you make it? I don't even know how to make it. It is like a worm. I mean, this is the level of understanding. And you come to urban center, you tell a kid that I can make Maggi noodle for you. You say, what's the big deal? I mean, I can make it. So that's the level of understanding. So everybody has to be there. But the interesting thing is the mega company that Lever was the initial company to tap into rural through this Shakti Amma project.
Shakti, absolutely Shakti.
They put down people there on the ground. They supplied them stocks, gave them the support and said, go supply house by house. Many such interventions are going to be required if you have to reach. It's an interesting thing that you say that from your days in Levers till today, we are doing the same thing. It also tells you how little progress we have made.
Absolutely.
Because the challenge of communication, the challenge of transportation, the challenge of communicating the brand propositions. Today, with the aid of internet, and the fastest growing medium in internet is the vernacular. And that tells you a lot. So more and more of communication tools are coming in. And now the pace of entry of companies into rural is going to accelerate. A company like ITC, for example, which is e-Chowpals and things like that, are making solid progress with backward integration and things like that. So more and more companies will go on their own. The smaller companies, mid-sized companies will ride on the bigger ones, the infrastructure that they create as they move in. And 600,000 villages is the target. Even the mighty Lever and ITC don't reach there. That tells you the opportunity. The 600,000 villages are not big villages. There are 5 people, 20 people in that village. That tells you the scale and of challenge that is there. But rural cannot be ignored. It's going to be a very important proposition. So you get there first to more advantage, and that's the business.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to add one more point. Nielsen used to share one more data to say, if you want to cover 60+% of rural India, you need to cover the 50K population, 50,000 towns, And if you look at the POPs data and you look at where are these 50,000 POPs data coming from, it is 4,000 plus population towns. So which means 4,000 plus population are 50,000 towns. And below 4,000 village towns are the 5 lakh, 50,000 villages. So 5 lakh 50,000 villages are close to around, less than 5K population. And that is where, we are not able to reach. But one interesting point which you mentioned is very true. Many companies get misled by saying rural means low ARPU or throughput, less aspiration. But I think it's not. you will find Red Bull, which is a 100 rupee product in rural. And in fact, when we started launching milkshakes in rural market this year, I'm saying from our company, we were always thinking that, 10 rupee product should be rural and 35 rupee product should be urban. And it came to a surprise that rural aspirations are very, very high. It is just that, like you rightly said, they probably don't know how to use. And that's when education and communication and, stuff like that becomes paramount importance. And that's something which I think organizations will have to work upon. Rural aspirations are very high, and which is why maybe the other companies are tapping the e-com players are getting into tier 2 and tier 3 towns and villages. Absolutely.
The common thing will be in the internet. The internet
Absolutely.
will level up everybody. The child studying in South Delhi and South Bombay knows as much as the last village in Junjunu.
Absolutely.
Simply because the person there gets the same information. He may not speak the accented English that the South Bombay or South Delhi person speaks, but when the time comes, they will get there. So knowledge-wise, I don't think there's going to be any difference going forward. Same way, aspirations are, as you rightly say, going to be very, very high.
Absolutely. So when we look at these things, one of the challenges in FMCG, I would say, like Raj was mentioning, being a practicing manager, one of the challenges we see, apart from geography, it all starts with people, right? And I'm saying one of the challenge we see is attrition, right? And that's something which is nothing new from age-old 100-year story. It's only increasing and it's going up. So, I have some thoughts. I just wanted to ping your mind to say, what are the alternatives that we think as an FMCG company, and more so for a mid-sized companies or small companies or a startup, they find themselves quite challenging to say, how do I pay a 30,000-40,000 rupees salary to a guy, which is easily available for a Zomato or a Swiggy? How do you handle those people, and how do you ensure, your services day in and day out happening without any interruption?
Absolutely. So this is a mega challenge. And when Raj introduced me, he talked to me about, I'm associated with this company called Muthoot Fincorp. When they made a business presentation, the first thing they said, we have an attrition of 35%, which means 1/3 of the month you're doing nothing.
Nothing.
You're doing training and development. This is all you're doing. So this is a big challenge. And it's more so in the retail and FMCG industry. I believe that, and it's happening already. The pace has to accelerate. The eventual business ordering system and fulfillment will be a function of physically going there, picking up orders and delivering the next day as one model, which is the traditional model. And the number two, the automation model of picking up on the handset and cutting out the process of the data
Punching.
entry and things like that. And the third model is giving the retailer, like the Unilever app. Many companies are now starting putting. Shikhar is one example. You give the app to the retailer and say, 24/7 you can order. And we deliver it to you within 12 hours or 14 hours. Promise to deliver. So you don't need to go there and eat his brain during peak business time, but give him the flexibility during his lean time to do the ordering, and he can do multiple products. That's the other advantage that cash and carry and all these wholesalers offer. In one bill, you can get the Unilever product, the Nestle product, the ITC product, or the Cavinkare product, all in one bill. So they will do the ordering. So these are many models. There will never be one model, but everything will complement each other in ensuring that the fulfillment or the retailer satisfaction is done. If you take the big companies which have multiple SKUs, some like the Nestle has got 200, 300 SKUs, Unilever has got 600 SKUs, ITC I'm sure has got much more. Every time a salesman goes and he books an order, the average SKU billing is about 6 to 7. So that tells you the need to support the guy at the point of purchase.
Absolutely.
That's where automation and digitization and support at there in terms of suggested orders will help him.
Bang on. I think absolutely the right point. I was about to say that. See, I think today one of the challenge which probably companies don't realize is attrition is not, I think the lead indicator, if you ask me for attrition, is not about salary and stuff like that. It is the guy does not know the mantra for success. He does not have the right tool to succeed in the outlet. And that is where, like you rightly mentioned, technology comes to the rescue. So we learned certain things from the new FMCG or tech companies where, when the salesman goes, he has got 5 tasks to do, for that outlet. in this outlet, you have to sell this, and
Yeah.
this much of bill, period.
Yeah.
So he doesn't apply his brain because it is in
Yeah.
front of him. He simply follows it, and there is a green tick mark. Now, the more he does the green tick mark, his chances to succeed for the day is higher. At the end of the day, he comes as a successful guy, and success breeds success. So I think one key learning which I have seen is the moment the guy starts seeing success, he sticks around, and then he starts earning incentive. And I think that is something which is very, very profound. I think probably many companies are missing to do, and something which brings me to this question to say, how are companies leveraging the AI, artificial intelligence? There are a lot of discussion around AI, chat GPT. How do you see this as a key point?
Just to go back to the earlier point, I didn't fully answer that question. While we are supporting the guy to do business better and making his work more easy to do and more comfortable to do, I think the one area that companies have to invest continuously is in the area of training and leadership development.
Absolutely.
If the guy is constantly learning, he will continue to work. And if his job is being enabled by all the factors that you mentioned, he will continue to stick on. If he feels that he's not valued and he's not improving as a professional, he will quit. He will quit and then find a job. Not like the earlier days when you find a job and then quit.
Correct.
This is the trends in the society. Companies have to be cognizant of it.
Absolutely.
The question of AI, I'll take in two parts. One is the sales part, and two is the marketing
part.
AI enables, there's this big talk about, chat GPT and all this will take over and the human brain will be lent ineffectual. I personally don't think so, but it's too early to call a shot, and I'm not a guru to pass comment on that. But I believe that technology, whether it is virtual reality or it's AI, will help companies to take faster decisions, better informed decisions, more data-enabled decisions, rather than the age-old gut feel-led decisions. When you say that, I think from my experience that we should do this. And then somebody else says that, no, I think it's nonsense, you should do something else. No, fact-based decision-making will be supported by these technologies. And it will help companies target consumers from earlier days. There's an interesting thing. Companies used to do spray and pray. They used to go flood all retail outlets with the same product SKU and then hope and pray that the consumer will come and pick it up. Similarly, you go to television, you blast it out on the new product advertising and say that consumer will understand and he'll come out and ask for the product. I think that kind of wastage is there. It will not be, companies can't afford. It's a competitive world. And more targeted consumer communication, personalized consumer communication, responsive communication like chatbots will be very, very important if companies have to get the consumer on their side. This is true for retailers as well.
Absolutely. It reminds me of one of my experience, just sharing one of my experience in levers. 2 decades back, we launched Vim Liquid. Even today, Vim Liquid is perceived to be a premium product. And when I was there as a sales officer, it used to be, it was a new brand. And levers being levers, you cannot leave anything unturned. So the launch came, and I was a sales officer in Madurai. We've simply plastered the city of Madurai with Vim Liquid. Every small outlet, kirana, pawn shop, fancy, this, that, everything, plastered with a 10 rupee, I don't remember, I think it's 10 rupee pouch. And there's huge sales of Vim Liquid. We thought we had done a great job. We celebrated success. Suddenly the brand manager landed up and said, what is this happening? Where is this all liquid getting sold? I said, see, this is where we have sold. And he said, boss, it's not supposed to be sold in this place. It's only supposed to be sold in kirana and, in supermarkets. So you're right. I think today the targeted way of selling has become paramount. I'm saying you understand the target audience and the target channel, so to say, and only go there. And that's when you get the maximum, result.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you have Mr. Sevak, who's also ex-Nestle on the call. He will tell you that when he launched Purina Pet Care, the sales team said, hey, come on, let's go and sell everywhere. And they wanted to sell only to vets. And just holding the people back was so difficult. So I think there's a mass numeric reach we're very good at as an industry. Targeted selling, not so good.
Absolutely. Bang on. So you're right. I think another thing which I think has changed the way FMCG has changed in the last 4-5 years, I think it's COVID. What do you see COVID as a pandemic impacted the sales and marketing trend? Do you see there is some trend which has changed? I'm sure Nestle being one company which has really been positively impacted during COVID and stuff like that. And if you see some of the trend lines today, the household care, the sales has seriously started to jump, as compared to. So how do you see this trend emerging? Is it here to stay or is it a bubble? What are your points in this?
COVID was an interesting phase when I remember a company, a very big company which handles personal care. He had a lot of pressure on sales. With just one sanitizer, he cleaned up the entire system. So they just sold so much of sanitizer and destocked every distributor, and everybody won in that value chain. So that's interesting. But COVID opened our minds to many possibilities. The biggest contribution I would personally say is on communication. We could reach out to the smallest town sub-stockist through Teams call. And we thought he won't be able to, he doesn't know technology. He knows technology better than us. And we could connect with him. There was a huge opportunity to redirect your advertising funds in a more targeted fashion because nobody was allowed to go out. You couldn't go and shop outside. So you could redirect. A lot of money, we opened the eyes on possibility of digital marketing and targeted marketing. A lot of sampling happened through e-commerce channels. You take a milk company and target your cornflakes there. You go to a company which sells chocolate and try to sell your biscuit there, and so on and so forth. So adjacencies benefited from this. So companies really targeted. They work harder, I would say, to make their money work better. It also happened that they didn't spend all the money that they normally spend and made huge profits during COVID. But subsequently, the next 2 years, they struggled to match those profits. That's the flip side. But I think COVID opened up the mind of companies to connect with consumer and customer in a very different way. And there are multiple channels open. You're not forced to travel every time to do a particular consumer intervention or to meet a customer. You don't need to travel all the way from Delhi to Bombay. You could do it on Teams. And it's a very acceptable form of communication. So I think it opened up the mind, but things are settling down. But I still think that the automation and the connect through the virtual medium will continue.
Yeah. See, I think like you mentioned that there are pluses here, and I think there is also a minus where somewhere I think there are places where we have lost touch from the ground. People have become so complacent and comfortable with the Teams call that we thought anyway I'm able to reach up to the last mile on a regular basis. So why to connect? Age-old direct connection, physical connection has no substitute. I think very, very important that we continue to have that.
At the end of the day, sales is a function of one-to-one.
Absolutely.
Talk to you, convince you, and make you buy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you lose it, in good times, it's okay. But in bad times, I think that will pay a price.
Yeah. See, one other thing in our FMCG business is on the supply chain. When we talk about rural, the difficulties in changing, reaching the rural and stuff like that. But having said so, even in an urban market, notwithstanding rural as well, supply chain plays a very, very critical role in the overall scheme of things. And the way AI and ML has played in supply chain, we look at supply chain in the past as a mode of delivery. There is an order, there is supply happening, and that's it. We have never sort of probably attacked it to saying how that can be a sort of a growth engine for a company. Do you see anywhere we've seen supply chain as a growth engine or a key enabler or a catalyst for growth for FMCG companies? Or do you think it should be?
The liberty of expanding the supply chain to the value chain. I think in a very competitive, India is growing and everybody is coming here and they want to be part of this growth story. So it's getting more competitive, right? In whichever industry you take it. The reason why they will succeed is if you manage the value chain from procurement up to consumer well, because the money is in the supply chain. If you manage it well, if you are using it effectively, and I'm not saying cut costs, I'm saying get better bang for the buck. You get better bang for the buck in the value chain, you'll have more money to spend behind the end consumer. So at the end of the day, only two things matter: the guy who manufactures and the guy who consumes. The rest are all only supporting cast in this whole thing. So it's very important that the technology be leveraged to cut the cost in a fact-based matter and put that money behind consumer. And the AI, the machine learning will constantly help companies to get there faster because it's competitive. If you don't get there faster, somebody else will do it. And when somebody else do it and you lose first mover advantage in this country and you're from levers, you know very well that Lifebuoy is still the mega brand and it came first. So you have to get there first. And if you have to intervene with the consumer, you need faster decision making, fact-based decision making, and decisions which can be executed with ease and not a fancy theory. So I believe that the value chain will be very, very important. The companies which manage the value chain better will be the ones which are going to grow profitably.
They
and
also
when
say,
we talk about profit, there is one in the chat box I'm seeing, Binu.
Yeah.
There is Mr. Chand who's saying, what's your advice to young D2C consumer startups to scale up their business and yet have a path to profitability? Funding just became tougher. I will just say 2 words. Feel free to add, Binu.
yeah,
The startup story is now changing from top line to top and bottom line. That is the more sustainable way of doing business anyway. I think D2C is a very powerful engine for companies. It helps them reach the consumer directly, but that can never be a channel of sale. We are an 11 million retailer country with many, many, many channels of distribution, starting from e-commerce, going down to the last kirana. But today, the fact that the people are coming into the thinking of profitability tells you that just getting top line at any cost will not help. So the people who fund will also say, what is the mother chart to profitability? That's a fair question to ask. Anybody who invests money will ask, how are you spending it and what are you going to give me in return? I think that initial phase, it's over. Now they will start. But the startups are bright people. Let's not don't get me wrong. They're very, very bright people. They do great work. They will now refocus on sustainable, profitable business. And I believe they'll play a huge role in the area of innovation and renovation going forward and new product development.
Absolutely. See, my experience, being a decade-long experience in telecom, one thing which I've learned in telecom, when I used to be in telecom, there used to be this thing of coverage. If I have a coverage in a particular town, that used to be my forte. We used to sort of protect the coverage like a hawk because that's my USP at that point of time. But then margins being so thin, telecom really innovated faster and they democratized coverage. Today, the coverage is no more the USP. It's all given to Indus Towers. It was jointly made by Vodafone Idea and Airtel, and they formed a company called Indus. Now it's an independent company. Today, anybody, if you have money, tons of money, you go and buy license, and then you can go and pay to Indus, and you can get coverage all India, which was never the case in the past. Yeah. So technology has become, coverage has become democratized. And today, the only way telecom is surviving is through USPs, value for the consumer, their value proposition to the customer, how fast they are able to service and stuff. I can see that happening even in FMCG, and I've been always advocating this fact that it's time that companies come together. Why it happened in telecom is probably companies came together to democratize, distribution, which is not happening in FMCG. So unless and until giants come together, see, if you look at Amazon, I don't know whether you observed, Amazon used to be a USP. Used to be the service immediately serving the consumer. Today, if you look at, I was in my hometown Kerala, and I ordered something in Amazon. This guy came and delivered to me, and next day there's something else come from another this one. Again, this guy came and delivered. I said, "Yeah, you are delivering Amazon yesterday." He said, "No, this entire pin code is mine. So any courier, anything comes, it is mine." So what companies like Amazon has done is they've also done cluster-based approach and said, okay, fine, why do I spend money? Any which way I'm going to spend money, this one, let me do it through other service. Today, I stick to say a company like Amazon not because of time, but because of the service they offer. The moment there is an issue on damages or anything, I simply said return, and there is no questions asked. Simply they take it back the next day. And that gives me a lot of joy to say, it's seamless. So I'm saying those are the USPs. Earlier, I used to buy probably it because of the time. So I think it's changing, and I think, like you mentioned, unless and until there is democratization happening, it's not going to change. And companies have to come together, and it's a long haul, I would say.
Yeah, you're right. Because many years back, we tried to share space in a supermarket with another
Absolutely.
company which is non-compete. We had a long discussion and then it didn't work. But I
Okay.
guess it's an evolution rather than, I won't say that one day it is going to happen. It's evolution. Eventually,
Absolutely.
non-compete companies will come in together, not only in the area of visibility and hygiene in the market, but also in managing the value chain, in managing the logistics and things like that. These are bound to happen because at the end of the day, no company can afford a higher price. The moment
Absolutely,
it
they
comes,
can't.
consumer will throw you out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I hope you have answered your questions,
So-
Mr. Chan.
So, yeah. So I think there's another question which I think came out to us about, organic products and organic products being quite expensive, in the market, which can only be exported. And how do you, help them succeed in local markets? Is one question which had come.
Organic in the food business is very in the nascent stage. Organic food, sustainability, all these are topics I believe are going to be very, very critical for the future. It's in the nascent stage because availability of raw materials is very, very difficult. To source wheat, which is organic, milk, which is organic, is a challenge. And if you have to source at scale, it becomes even more challenging. And then to industrialize it and go and sell it in the market and charge your premium and make it a profitable venture becomes a very challenging. But I think this is more of an evolution. These are early stage issues that are there. Eventually, I believe that the organic way of doing sustainability being a very important ingredient in product formulation and eventual selling will become, we see some of these e-commerce players. I ordered a pair of shoes. It came to me with 14 layers of plastic and cardboard. Now, all this will change. This is all initial stages where people are doing one size fits all work. But I believe that going forward with more education, more availability of resources, and importantly, investment by in industry in various organic farms, in sustainability issues, it will become a big differentiator for companies to do. And companies will do it only because it's a huge differentiator and will give them a one-up on competition.
So there's one question which has come to say, what's your view on Reliance entry in FMCG with deep pockets and in-house digital communication, disruption on the way? So if you allow me, I'll want to answer
Please.
this. I've seen this from close quarters being in telecom, and it reminds me of those days where in our boardrooms we used to say Reliance, Anil Ambani's Reliance had come with GSM and it bombed very badly. And subsequently, this Reliance came and we said nothing doing here. Reliance, they have come in the past, they will not do anything. Don't worry, let us have our strategy right. And we all kept ignoring Reliance and it swept us completely. I think the big lesson I would say an industry has learned from Reliance, what they've done is they have understood the customer need well and they have really attacked it. Of course, they have deep pockets. From an FMCG perspective, I would definitely say, it's going to change to some extent. But unlike telecom, which is far more 2 or 3 operators, FMCG is a broad-based thing, and people still value the brands. Brand still holds fort. To that extent, I'm sure it's not going to disrupt well. But yeah, there is going to be a disruption, mainly from a reach perspective. Their reach is going to be far higher than a normal new company, FMCG company. And because of their omnipresence, they have a geo platform through offline and online. That's going to make all the difference. And if companies don't ensure their products in place, the right stocks in place, it's bound to get substituted by these people. And the number 2 thing is, their assortment. They'll be able to get their assortments in all the stores by virtue of this omni-channel. That's something which is not very easy for a new company like, unlike Reliance. So if you ask me, is disruption going to happen? I would definitely say it is in the short term. I think definitely it is going to be there.
I also want to add is there will be disruption, but it is not a zero-sum game. I think
Absolutely.
we will end up expanding categories.
Correct.
Undifferentiated categories, there'll be more competition.
Absolutely.
In the food business, I think brands will hold sway. I'll give an example. Many years back, Nestle launched something called Fruit and Milk. It was a Tetra milk-based product. We launched it very well. We had a good reach. We did good work, good marketing. Didn't do well. Subsequently, many years, and it came 5-6 years back, we launched ready-to-drink products under the Nescafe brand and the Milo brand. Rip-roaring success. I think there is a value for branding that Binu said, and this is the practical difference I've seen in my career, where there is a fruit and milk, which is generic, and there is a Nescafe, which is a strong brand, and that makes a big difference. So I think Reliance will end up expanding the market. They will give a good run for money for all these companies by their reach, and any inefficiencies the companies have will be exposed by a strong giant like Reliance. This is there. So if anybody wants to take it lightly, it's at their own peril.
And added to that, like you rightly pointed out, had there been no brand saliency, the private labels would have made huge monies. Why are Reliance going and buying brands today? Because they realize, why is Campa-Cola being bought? They realize brand's important. So it's going to be there. But yeah, there's another question which has come for Nestle, Ravi, saying that, how have you used AI in Nestle?
Yeah, so Nestle was a very brick and mortar company with traditional practices. From pen and paper, we moved to computers, Excel spreadsheet based. Then we decided that this is not going to work. We have to become data driven, fact based driven. We launched a huge project called Midas. We worked with Accenture for it. Every company, and Nestle is no different, is rich in data. There's internal data, there is household panel data, there is AC Nielsen data, and there are many syndicated data that we get. There are our own sales data of primary sales and secondary sales. We have outlet information, we have Nielsen, whole host of data. The challenge is to put everything together and come out with a MIS which will aid decision making. And this project which has kicked off and now is being rolled out across the various functions. It's not only sales, it's in sales, it's in marketing, it's importantly in supply chain. Again, I say it's in the value chain that you really benefit from it. And this is one really helping us, because the same dashboard that the sales officer gets every day on his laptop is what the managing director gets on his laptop. You can drill down and go to any level, but depending on the hierarchy that you set, the decision making that you want to do, you can cut that, slice and dice it the way you want. So there are a set of reports that you need more if you want to ask for, because you will get millions of reports. You'll get drowned in data and information. So it's important to cut the information to the level to which you want it to be, that you determine, and then ask for it on a need basis. But going forward, I think the automation in general, the larger umbrella of automation, under which I would say virtual reality, machine learning, AI, and any other automation that is going to come in the future, like ChatGPT, will all only help companies to take faster decisions, more fact-based decisions, and aid in getting the consumer perception right and the customer perception. Earlier, it was only about consumer. Now, customers are becoming equally important. So we need to get their mind right and then act on it.
Absolutely. I could resonate with your thought and words. Even in our company, we have done that. One of the things which many companies suffer is multiple, systems have data, and it doesn't come under one single roof. And that is where they challenge themselves. We have got something of called data lake, where all the primary, secondary, and all this data flow into the data lake. And from there is one MIS. Like you pointed out, once you don't get it from top to bottom, if everybody don't see the same data, there's going to be trouble. And the faster the organization gets into this model of carving out data, the better. Actually, that's something which is very important. So the another question which has come is, large distributor model is yet to take off in India. What's your thought? I have some thoughts.
That's a favorite question. I get pushed a lot within the system. We are a fragmented trade. The retailers are fragmented. Distributors cannot be aggregated. If you want sustained, regular, faultless coverage, you must be closer to the market. We have seen in many urban towns where a difficulty to get distributors, we create a very big distributor. He ends up covering the top retailers very well, takes the money and goes. The smaller retailers are never covered well in a consistent basis. So the big distributor model can work, provided the mindset of market coverage is ingrained in them. And that is something they look at value sales. You're looking at volume, SKU, market availability, SKU. So there's a little bit, the expectations from the distributor and the company is slightly different. Unless that alignment happens, that will not. I believe that companies will try. I can quote the example of Unilever. In the mega city of Mumbai, they knocked off all the distributors and made one distributor for their entire product range. One distributor. They outsourced the logistics to Mahindra and Mahindra. They said the guy will book the order. They give the order to Mahindra. They will take the stock from the distributor. The salesman will go supply and collect the check or cash. I think it was a good experiment. I think it is important that we try and fail if at all, but we learn a lot from that so that we more and more perfect the model that we have already. It didn't work, but eventually from a very, very smaller kind of distributors, I think it became slightly medium size instead of large size. The era of large distributors has not come, medium distributors in, unless there is a minimum turnover, minimum business, his ROI will not work out, and then he will fall by the wayside. In a sense, companies have got responsibility to ensure distributors' return on investment is at a reasonable level or at agreed levels.
Yeah, see, I have a sort of a slightly different view on this. Probably not completely divergent, but I'm saying, like you rightly pointed out, in the current scenario, we might not be in a position to have large distributors. And one reason which I attribute that is lack of technology being adopted by these partners. I see somebody written saying I see a lot of opportunity to become large distributors. Yes, so in countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, I handle those countries. There are large distributors who cover the entire country. But then they are like a company. They are not like pristine distributors of the past where they are 407s and they stand in the road and then they start delivering. No, they're completely, it is warehouse management is applied inside the distributor point. So the routes are, optimized on a day-to-day basis. And once you use technology, there is chances of large distributors possible. And as I see, I think it's a long drawn game. A fragmented distributor, why it is not working is it is manpower intensive and people are finding difficulty in getting manpower, and which is why more and more people are wanting large distributors. Why it is not succeeding, like Raj mentioned, the attitude of the distributor is to somehow get the top line from the top guys. And that has to change only when we give the right tool for them to do. If what we measure with them, what we measure them will make all the difference. If we measure them on top line, they will deliver you top line somehow. If we measure them on the input KPIs which will deliver top line, probably things might change. But I truly believe it is
India
required.
has done it actually. Procter & Gamble many years back.
Absolutely. Procter & Gamble is done.
That they will go to one town, one distributor, and the rest of them will be sub-distributors appointed by the distributor. They call it, if I remember right, Project GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
Those distributors are huge ones. 20 crores per month, 15 crores per month.
Absolutely.
Supported by company with technology, with training and leadership training, and with a whole host of support systems. They went and did it. But they also said that a set of SKUs have to be available in the market. The smaller ones can go through wholesale. That's a call they took, which is fine. As long as you're clear about what you want, this works. But you can't have this model and say that every retailer should be directly distributed by the distributor.
May not be possible. Absolutely. I think, So this, I think there's another question which is to say D2C and e-commerce is giving huge margins and free delivery. How long will sustain? I think
Yeah. See, this is the entry thing. This is something called loss leading in the international business scenario. You call the guy in by sending a popular product at half the price. The consumer comes in and he buys the rest of it and you make your money. So this e-commerce is now loss leading. They're giving you good discount. They're giving you good deals. They're giving you free logistics to get you into the habit of buying. We get asked in the market whether the companies are funding all these things. I think now the retailers have also understood that companies are not funding. It is the deep pockets of these players which is holding them up. But I think that's also changing very rapidly. I think they're also being asked questions about profitability. So now they started charging for delivery, for example. If you've got 750 rupee bill, you get a free delivery. Otherwise, you'll have to pay for it. I think eventually everybody is moving towards sustainable, profitable business. You can do what you want. The mother chart of the product or the business has to show a certain progression every year. Profitability has become a key metric for everybody to chase nowadays, including the new D2C players who have launched brands that just the top line alone is not big enough. You need to make profits, and that's a good thing for the industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so I think that's pretty much. Do we have more time, Raj?
Yeah, maybe another 5-6 minutes. We can. Anybody has got a question can
Yeah.
hand up and ask.
I just one comment on this. This is an interesting conversation that we're having. I think the 3 years later we have the same setup again. The answers will be slightly
Will be
different from
completely
today.
different.
That's the
Absolutely.
kind of dynamism in the market
Absolutely.
today.
Absolutely.
And you can't say that we have learned it all and done it all and we know it all. I don't think so.
Absolutely.
The soft part of it, the people connect, the training, the development, that will remain very, very critical. And in 3 years' time will become even more critical.
Absolutely.
But the business processes, the selling, the marketing, the intervention with consumer to convince him to buy our product again and again and again, the methods that we use will be more automated, more fact-based, and will be very, very targeted rather than one size fits all. It will be more technology-driven, but companies will have to start moving out of their comfort zone of doing, not companies, I would say, managers like me have to move out of thing. And managers, as they evolve within the company, I worked for 38 years in the company. Just to survive, I need to learn. So a continuous learning, continuous excellence mindset has to be there. If it is not there, the managers will fall by the wayside and companies will get better people. That I believe.
Absolutely. I remember people saying sales is an art. I somehow tell them sales is not an art, it's a science. I would disagree to say sales is an art. And the more you apply a science to the sales fundamentals, I'm saying the more it changes the way it is. There's another question which says, sir, out of the IT giant, consulting firms, service providers, tech giants, industry orientation, which are the sectors having good future in terms of growth? Out of IT giants, consulting firms, service providers, tech giants, and industry oriented companies, which of the sectors are having good
All
future in
sectors have
terms
got
of growth?
opportunity in India.
Absolutely.
We are a fast growing country. Every sector, every size of business. It is not that the Cavinkare, which is a smaller company, vis-a-vis Unilever and Procter & Gamble has got less opportunity. They probably have more opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So anybody who can add value and move the dial forward, people who can bring value to the table will win, whether it's a consulting firm. So for example, we work with Accenture on doing this data analytics project. Halfway through, if they had not been adding value, we would have changed it.
Absolutely.
The fact that they continued is they brought value to the table. That is true for anything.
Absolutely.
A person who does his job and moves the dial forward will be valued. That's true for companies. That's true for many businesses as well.
Absolutely.
Raj, I think you put your hands up.
Raj?
Yeah, I had a question. See, this question is mainly about, a lot of small companies or startups they're very keen to launch a consumer product in the market, but they don't have the power to do a full-fledged marketing. And they think that they can do the job using pure play distribution.
Yeah.
What's your take on this? Many people, I've heard them sitting in the...
Raj, at the end of the day, we should not forget that putting the stock in the market and launching it is a far easier job than getting the consumer to buy again and again and again. I'm not saying this task is easy. I'm saying it is easier than getting the consumer to. So the best way for smaller companies and smaller brands is to take a smaller area, do all your activities there, test and learn, and then scale up. You start spreading yourself thin, you'll end up spending the money without getting the kind of returns that you want. So take a geography. I think the era of mega launches for even big companies is gone. They take more geographies and launch, test and learn. Whatever mistakes you made, you tweak it, and any improvements you want, you make it, and then you scale up.
Absolutely. Can't agree more. I think absolutely the temptation to launch it across and get that top line immediately is always there in many companies, and that is actually detrimental. Once you don't succeed in a location, next time when you go back with the product, it will never succeed because it's already done and dusted. So rightly pointed out by Ravi, take a geography, understand the pluses and minus, scale it up, communicate in that geography, make success out of it, then scale. In fact, we have also done like that for some companies. For example, milkshakes. For example, I'm saying we have taken South as our market. We have made ourselves a market leader here as milkshakes in many places. Now we want to scale up. So you're right. The more we try doing, this carpet bombing, it's a detrimental to the brand. Definitely, it's detrimental to the brand.
Also, you have to be careful about what you take as a metric. When Kellogg's launched in India, they launched in the South. They launched big time, and the product flew off the shelf. Every month they were growing with 25-30%. So they said that there's a massive opportunity, and they went all India. They found the product was available across the country. So the product which sold in a particular geography went through the wholesale across the country. So sometimes we as sales managers tend to say that I've done a great job. My sale has come, so I've done my job, and kudos to me. But it's coming for all the different reasons.
True. Absolutely.
So that we have to guard against.
Absolutely.
Sorry?
I think
somebody else said.
Yeah.
so. If there are no more questions, thank you all for thank you Ravi and Binu for great.
Sir, I think Mr. Mahesh Mehta has a question to ask. Sir.
Mahesh,
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Hello, Rajshekharan sir. Thank you so much. I got to know you, and that is how I am on this program. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to ask Mr. Ravi regarding. I want to talk regarding profit generation. A controlled purchase, lean management. Leave that apart. Which is better for profit generation? Higher sales, aggressive marketing, or branding? Which one will help in profit generation?
So if you want to be in the long term, you want to be in this country, you want to sell more, every month, every year, and be in the business till X to the power of N. The best way to do it in a country like India, where fundamentally we are a very low penetration company. You take any brand, the Maggi noodle, which is a mega brand, is 275,000 tons. One out of every one consumer buys it once in 6 months in urban centers. In rural centers, I mentioned that nobody really knows. The consumer penetration is very, very low. If that is the case, in a country like India, my personal view would be that you should focus on growing your business, grow the top line, but in a sustainable, profitable manner, rather than sacrifice your bottom line for the top line. Because you can never get your bottom line afterwards. You can't price up, you can't cut costs, you can't change the quality of our product. So you have to fix the value chain correctly, go for top line, and sustainable, profitable growth, I believe, will come with top line growth.
Okay, so the better route will be a higher sales or aggressive marketing for that.
If you need higher sales, you need aggressive marketing, sir.
Marketing,
both goes together. By just putting stock in the market, you will not get sales. You need consumer support.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rajshekharan sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again, Ravi and Binu, for a great conversation. And I thank everybody for making this interactive. And somebody's asked, can we get the recording? Definitely we can. I think our email addresses are available with you guys. Please send us a mail, giving us your mail details. We'll surely send it to you. Okay, thank you so much. And
thanks so much. Thank you all.
Next month.
Thanks, Raj, for having us today. I think it is a very lovely experience for me personally. Thank you very much.
Same here. Thank you so much, Kent. Thank you so much, Ravi. Thank you so much, Raj, and all of you.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.